Right now at 5, authorities in Pittsburgh investigate a death at the YMCA.
We've got ourselves another hot and muggy day across the area and another round of pop-up storms. We'll take a look at that forecast coming up.
And Missouri residents 60 and older are now eligible to receive a $50 voucher for fresh produce at farmers markets.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So we've got ourselves another hot, muggy day out there ahead of us, and we've got another round of pop-up storms, but these ones are expected to be a bit more isolated than what we've seen the last couple of days. Okay. Yesterday was pretty well scattered, mostly in southeast Kansas, but today it's going to be even more isolated than that. So we take a look at the future track. We can show this afternoon where these storms are going to start to develop. We go into about the 2 o'clock hour as we've been seeing. We'll see these things pop up. And this time you can see they're primarily, at least initially, on the Missouri side. And then as we lose the daytime heating, those thunderstorms begin to kind of die out across the area. Now we go into Thursday, and Thursday there's a couple of different things that can play out, at least in terms of our temperatures. If the storms start early enough in the day, it'll keep our temperatures in the upper 70s, lower 80s. If they start a little later, then we could actually reach about 90 before the storms kick in and knock our temperatures back down. So this particular forecast graphic is thinking they're going to start somewhat early. Here we are at 10 a.m. We've got those pop-up storms around the area, and we'll continue to see scattered showers and thunderstorms as we go throughout the day on Thursday. You can see they are widely scattered, but there are at least a few of them out there, bringing at least a little more meaningful rainfall across the area as we go in through our Thursday. And then we'll see another round, or at least another possible round, of pop-up storms as we head into our Friday afternoon as well. But again, those expected to be somewhat isolated. MoDOT camera 32nd in range line looking good so far. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400 just south of Pittsburgh. And from our camera at 7th and range line, got clear skies out there. 63. Not nearly as muggy, but still humid out there. Dew point 59, humidity 87%. Temperatures around the region, we got 62 in Nevada, 63 Fort Scott, 61 Pittsburgh, 64 Chautauqua, and sitting at 63 in Miami. As we get our morning started, I have a few passing clouds, go partly cloudy by late morning. Temperatures pushing into the lower 80s again. Muggy, hot, maybe even a little hazy out there as well. Upper 80s, lower 90s, partly cloudy. Then a few of those isolated pop-up storms as we head into the afternoon and early evening hours. Those clear out. We'll go partly cloudy overnight and mild, dropping back into the upper 60s. Got the low 90s again for us tomorrow. More of these thunderstorm chances through the weekend, and then we'll start to cool back a little. And then by next week, more storm chances and temperatures return to the mid-80s. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Tragedy at the Pittsburgh YMCA. Police say a man has died after he was found unresponsive in the YMCA pool. Pittsburgh PD is not yet releasing the name of the victim. Emergency workers were called to the YMCA around 7:50 yesterday morning. YMCA personnel had already begun resuscitation efforts before first responders arrived. A crew rushed the patient to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Authorities are investigating but say there is no indication of foul play. The Pittsburgh YMCA sent a statement to its members yesterday that said, in part, our entire Y family is deeply saddened by this situation. Our thoughts and prayers remain with this young man, his family and friends, as well as those who came to his aid. Statement from CEO Sarah Vaca goes on to say, quote, making sure all children and adults are safe in the pool is a top priority. We are conducting an internal review to learn the facts about what happened in this incident. We will use the findings of this review to ensure our water safety measures align with best in-class practices in order to prevent an incident like this from happening again. A Joplin chiropractor is facing federal child pornography charges. According to the Department of Justice, Eric Heedman is charged with a single count of receiving and distributing child porn. The crime allegedly happened last year. A federal grand jury indicted him on May 24th. The indictment was unsealed after Heedman was arrested and appeared in court. A Tennessee man is sentenced for the murder of a teenager in Crawford County, Kansas. Byron Baker was accused of second-degree murder and possession of stolen property. He was sentenced to almost 14 years in prison for a homicide in Pittsburgh in October of 2021. The victim, 18-year-old Chase DeLitch of Pittsburgh. Authorities say she was found dead in an apartment after a caller said they found the door open and saw her on the floor. Byron Baker will serve 36 months probation after his sentence. Joplin police arrest a man who they say stole a statue from outside the public library. Larry Hart of Joplin is now charged with felony stealing. He's accused of stealing a bronze statue of two small children reading a book. JPD says security camera video showed a man arrive outside the library, leave, and return. That's when the man cut the statue from its ground mount with a saw. The man loaded the statue onto a dolly and wheeled it away. Joplin Health Department wants to remind you they operate a mosquito fogging program in the city, and they say they use a pesticide that has a low toxicity to humans, and the fog usually dissipates within 15 minutes of application. Fogging will be conducted in the early morning hours to minimize exposure. People are encouraged to stay indoors and not drive through areas where fog is visible after application. Residents who do not wish for their property to be fogged can contact the health department. Fogging routes will be posted on the health department page of the Joplin website. Low-income seniors 60 and over can now get a $50 voucher for fresh produce at farmers markets. The program is sponsored through the Missouri Department of Agriculture. Joe Hickman has more on what's being offered.
Things were busy at the Senior Age office in Springfield today as the line was long for the start of the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program.
They love this program.
Those age 60 and over who meet certain income guidelines can get $50 in vouchers to get free fruits, vegetables, herbs, and honey from farmers markets throughout Senior Age's 17 county coverage area. And even if you're not a big fruits and veggie guy like Al Crossland,
more meat and taters.
The 80-year-old does understand the importance of eating healthier.
As I get older, I do think more about nutritious food, and that's why I go to the senior centers and eat lunch and take advantage of this. There's food that I probably wouldn't buy otherwise.
We hear that a lot because fruits and vegetables are expensive. So a lot of people on a fixed income, they have to pick between groceries or medicine. And so even though it's just $50, it's $50 and it's homegrown.
The free vouchers are available through the end of September and can be used until the end of October.
This one is Battlefield Mall. This one's over at Farmers Park. Anything listed here, that's where you can shop.
When you sign up, you'll get a list of the farmers markets where the vouchers can be used, and you'll have a list of things to bring when you sign up, including proof of income, because only those who are within 185% of the poverty line qualify.
Just to give you an example, for one person, you can't make over $26,000 a year. Social Security, pensions, it includes all income.
And as to how much difference this can make in someone's life? Well, Susan spoke of a widow who came through the office today.
Her husband recently passed away, so she's still dealing with living on her own. And she did have tears in her eyes when she said, I can't believe I qualify for this. She said, this is such a big help to me right now because when you lose a spouse, there goes half your income. And when you're trying to deal with how do I adjust, sometimes just that measly little $50 is the biggest thing that could happen to you.
Well, some things you may need when applying for vouchers: proof of identity and age, such as driver's license or a birth certificate, because you have to be 60 or older. And you need proof of residency, like a utility bill. Also, proof of income, such as your Social Security benefit statement or a W-2. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, athletes on the PSU track team received several awards for their accomplishments. Plus, some sly foxes in Pennsylvania are making their way around town, stealing not only newspapers, but shoes as well. And we take a look at what might make you a mosquito magnet. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Well, Pittsburgh State Track and Field earns a few awards from the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. Gorilla's head coach Kyle Rutledge has been named the Central Region Men's Track and Field Coach of the Year after leading PSU to a Division II Outdoor National Championship. A couple of his athletes have earned individual honors. On the women's side, Pitt State's Anna Childress is the Central Region Field Athlete of the Year. She won the Division II Outdoor National title in triple jump with a mark of 43 feet 10.5 inches. That's a new Division II record. She also won the triple jump at the MIAA Conference Championships. On the men's side, Pitt State's Cordell Tench is the Central Region Men's Track and Field Athlete of the Year. At the Outdoor National Championships, he posted the best mark in collegiate history in the 110-meter hurdles, 12.87 seconds. He obviously won the national title in the event, but he also won national championships in the high jump and long jump. Here's Coach Rutledge on his pair of standouts earning big-time recognition.
It's just great to see that their performance of breaking national records and to perform the way that they did is just outstanding. I'm still in awe of how well they performed. I mean, Anna breaking the national record after the girl right before broke the record, and she came back and answered. And then Cordell, you just, I mean, what an amazing feat that young man did to winning the high jump the way he did and winning the hurdles and long jump. It was just an amazing weekend for him and Anna as well.
Still to come, an already damaged dam partially collapses in Ukraine. And we'll take another look at today's hot and possibly stormy forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:16 now on this Wednesday morning, halfway through the work week. And we've got ourselves another hot one, another humid one, and another round of at least a few pop-up thunderstorms as we head into the afternoon. So let's head into the afternoon on the future track. These start a little bit later, so roughly around 3, 4 o'clock, we'll start to see a few of these scattered pop-up storms. Now this time, yesterday, they were primarily on the southeast Kansas side and back down into parts of northeast Oklahoma. Today, they're expected to stay kind of on the Missouri side across the area. And again, these will be very isolated in nature as we head through the evening and overnight hours. And then we head into our Thursday. A couple of scenarios here. One is the storms start early enough that our temperatures stay into the upper 70s, lower 80s. But if they start a little bit later, then we may actually reach a high of about 90 degrees. And then the rain will cool us back down. So this particular future track showing the possibility of these storms starting earlier in the day. These will be scattered initially, but at least there is some rainfall around the area. And as you can see, we get some much needed rainfall in areas that truly need it. I mean, here we are Thursday evening. Take a look out in parts of southeast Kansas from Yates Center, Fredonia to Coffeyville. Some much needed rainfall holding. And because these aren't just pulse thunderstorms, they actually last a little longer and actually help us out a little more. And then we've got another round of pop-up storms as we head into our Friday, Thursday and Friday as well. All right. Here we are, MoDOT camera 32nd in range line, looking good so far. KDOT camera 69 and 400, also looking all right this morning. Clear skies out there, 63 in Joplin, dew point's 59, humidity 87%, so a bit humid across the area, and some patchy fog out there as well. 63 Lamar, 61 in Pittsburgh, 64 Neodesha, Chatopa, and 63 in Miami. Get our morning started, we'll have a few passing clouds initially and go partly cloudy by late morning, getting into the low 80s. Highs today, upper 80s, lower 90s across the area with those pop-up thunderstorms. This evening, quite mild, partly cloudy overnight, upper 60s for our lows, and then we'll hold those pop-up storm chances at least through the weekend, maybe some morning thunderstorms, temperatures remaining in the low to mid 80s. Well, the official start to summer is around the corner, which means mating season is in full swing for many animals, among them foxes. As Becca Hendrickson reports, residents in one Pennsylvania town are dealing with mischief from some new fox pups.
Scavengers are scavenging through media once again, burrowing in backyards and pulling off the familiar heist.
Back again.
This time, their crimes aren't as cunning.
Few pairs in, few pairs reunited with their owners.
Tom Macarola knows their MO. They chase shoes, baseball gloves, and newspapers.
Wall Street Journal.
But rather than be an accomplice to the crime, he and his wife are helping to reunite the stolen goods.
I was just looking at my phone. I popped onto Facebook and I saw in one of the local groups that someone found a whole bunch of shoes in their yard that night before and was posting pictures of the shoes.
Diane Layden caught the culprit red-tailed and learned the identity of the swiper swiping her family's shoes.
I think we just need to keep our shoes inside.
Experts say it's best to leave the cubs alone.
Foxes are very curious and very playful and very smart. So To them, it's a game.
Late spring and summer is baby season, and while mom and dad are out hunting, the cubs are having fun.
Foxes have discovered that humans just really aren't a problem. So they're not afraid to be in close proximity to humans because they don't really see us as dangerous to them.
As for Tom, he's learned to share his yard, and in the last year, he's perfected his answer to,
Here goes.
What does the fox say?
Something like that.
Okay. Okay, well, whatever. Now we, I guess, know what the fox says, don't we? Okay, I'm sorry. That just that guy. What was that noise he made? Oh gosh, I know Chris is back there going, just stop it and talk, but. Okay, all right. We do have a question for you, though, this morning. We want to know, what is your favorite animal? Is it that guy, or is it a dog, a cat, a chicken, horse, fox, panda, lion, or something else? We want to hear from you. Please don't call in and make fox noises or anything like that, but you can vote through our website, through our app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We'll be back with Health Watch after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, mosquitoes hunt down any member of the human species by tracking our CO2 exhalations, body heat, and body odor. Now, some of us are called mosquito magnets who get more than our fair share of bites. There are many popular theories for why someone might be a preferred snack, including blood type, blood sugar level, or just being a woman or child, or just being extremely sweet like myself. Yet there is little credible data to support most of these theories, and we look at what might make you a mosquito magnet.
Mosquitoes, one of the few insects who evolve a taste for human blood, an incredibly protein-rich meal.
When they bite, it's uncomfortable because there's an irritation associated with the biting of the mosquito. It's actually injecting saliva into your body.
Each year, mosquitoes infect about 400 million humans with the dengue virus while they taste their blood. In addition to dengue, they transmit viruses such as yellow fever, Zika virus, and chikungunya. Certain people are more attractive to mosquitoes than others because they have higher levels of carboxylic acids on their skin. The acids produced through sebum, an oily layer that coats a person's skin. Professor Michael Rowe and his colleagues are working on a mosquito repellent cloth to prevent even these people from getting infected by these pesky insects.
We have an amazing scientist in our team that's a mathematician. He can mathematically define all those parameters, combining them to describe what a cloth would have to be like to prevent mosquitoes from biting.
Scientists at Rockefeller University believe the solution might be to manipulate our skin microbiomes, but until then, you might want to keep using lots of bug spray.
And that's how you spray on bug spray. Mosquito preference is a central question for researchers and the public. What's unclear is whether mosquitoes use these compounds only to preferentially search out humans, or if a combination of scents indicates that particular individuals might make better meals. But understanding the chemicals behind mosquito attraction could one day lead to a topical cream that could bring some relief for those on the tastier end of the mosquito magnet scale. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We've got ourselves another hot and muggy day with some pop-up storms this afternoon. We're going to take a look at that forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Right now at 5:30, we take you to Lamar, Missouri to learn more about a local drive-in movie theater.
And we've got ourselves another muggy and hot day across the area with some pop-up storms this afternoon. We'll talk about that forecast coming up.
And a new art show hosted by the Ozark Center hopes to spring and put a spotlight on eating disorders.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:29. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So we've got another hot, muggy day out there. We got more pop-up storms today. So yesterday's pop-up storms were primarily in southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma, rather. Today's pop-up storms look to be primarily in southwest Missouri and drifting down into northwest Arkansas. So there's just a great divide in where these are going to be. And then tomorrow, we're going to see better storm chances across more of the region. So as we look at the future track, we can see right as we head into the afternoon, nothing initially. These storms are expected a little later in the day, and they'll roll in from north to south. Here we go by 4 o'clock, and you can see the ones we see today, very isolated in nature. Now, again, this isn't to say we couldn't see a stray storm or two in southeast Kansas. It just the primary focus of the action is expected to be in southwest Missouri. And again, as we've learned over the last few days, even though we're not into a severe threat, we could still see a stray, strong, or severe thunderstorm. Now, we go into our Thursday, a couple of possibilities. One, if the storms arrive a little later in the afternoon, we're expected to make a high of about 90 degrees and then will quickly cool under the thunderstorms. If they arrive a little earlier, as this particular future track model wants to show, we won't make it out of the 80s, which I don't think anybody's going to complain about that. So we'll have to see which one plays out exactly. But going off of this, we go through the morning, afternoon, we get some of these scattered thunderstorms, and they'll become a little more widespread as we go through the evening. And because these are not pulse thunderstorms, these will actually last a little bit longer than what we have seen with some of our thunderstorms here lately. MoDOT camera, 32nd and range line, looking good so far. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400, just south of Pittsburgh. Got clear skies out there this morning, some patchy fog in areas, and a bit muggy. 63 in Joplin, dew points at 59, humidity at 87% out there. Temperatures around the region, not a bad start. 61 Nevada, 60 Pittsburgh, Fort Scott, 63 Independence and Miami, and 61 in Neosho. We get our morning started. We'll have a few passing clouds here and there and go partly cloudy by late morning, heading into the low 80s. And as we head into the afternoon, again today, highs right around 90 degrees, some upper 80s, lower 90s. Partly cloudy with some of those thunderstorm chances. And we head into this evening, mild once the storms die out, partly cloudy into the upper 60s for our overnight lows. Pop-up storms again on Friday, morning thunderstorm chances as we go into Saturday and into Sunday, temps low to mid-80s. And then we kick into next week and we start to really warm up. A lot more lower 90s out there and some thunderstorm chances return for us by Tuesday and Wednesday. Tanya?
Thanks, Chris. Only one community pool will be open in Joplin this summer, despite the city owning 3. Schifferdecker Pool will be the only one open, but the pool is only partially open due to a lifeguard shortage. 60 lifeguards are needed to fully open Schifferdecker, and Joplin currently has 29 and 34 more in training. And while the community waits for qualified lifeguards, the Joplin City wants to remind the community that the city can only work with what they have, and not every community is the same.
People will compare other communities' pools, and you can't compare apples to apples. One pool, in particular, it only takes them 30 people to staff their pool.
City of Joplin is currently working on opening a splash pad in Ewart. Schifferdecker Pool will be closed this Saturday, of course, for a swim meet. Yesterday was National Drive-In Movie Day, and the Barco Theater in Lamar showed us just what that means to them. KOAM's Anthony Saviello has their story.
For some, it may be hard to justify going to the movies. With the convenience of live streaming and the comfort of your own home, sitting in a dark theater may not seem that appealing. But for the Barco Theater in Lamar and its manager Scott Kelly, the drive-in is never short on customers.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, when you consider the size of the town and there's not very many drive-ins left. Every year the count dwindles. There's less than 300 apparently open now in the United States.
Scott got a job at the Plaza Theater in town as a teenager. He now manages the Plaza and the Barco Theaters. I met him at the Plaza, where he starts off the day tending to the needs of customers and employees. Yes, yeah. After the movie starts, it's time to head over to the drive-in and prep the evening feature. However, with less help than what he used to have.
Yeah, it's been tough. but he would want the show to go on, and we knew that from the get-go, so we really didn't miss hardly any showings because of that.
Scott has dedicated his life to the movies, and so did his son. Unfortunately, his son Zachary gave everything he had.
He started working for us at the theater when he was like 15, and loved working, and taking care of the kids, and different things. That he loved waiting on kids and different things. And he got real sick in December, and we lost him in 3 days. And so we just thought this way, he loved the theaters, and we thought this would be a neat thing to memorialize him for that. And he loved, waiting on customers, and he just loved doing it.
Reporting in Lamar, I'm Anthony Saviello.
Now, Scott's family is dedicating the 74th season of the Barco to the life of Zachary, his son, a life dedicated to the love of movies and the love of community. The Joplin Union Depot's doors were opened to some residents yesterday to clean up the interior of the historic building. Joplin Downtown Alliance Clean Team wants to pay attention on cleaning up the Union Depot Railroad Station. The team invited local residents to help with a quick cleanup before the State Historic Preservation Conference comes into town today. Now, workers say it's great to finally see inside the depot while taking care of it.
In general, the Union Depot gathers a lot of interest from everyone in the community. They want to be able to get out and see the inside of this building if they never have. And I think we like to generally make the place better. And so, we were able to get several people to come out and clean it up.
The Clean Team meets 2 times a month on the first Tuesday and the third Saturday to clean up areas that they think need cleanups. Gibson recommends residents to come out and help cleaning up spaces in the community with a 1-hour commitment. The 12th Annual Commerce Days kicks off tonight at 5 p.m. and runs through Saturday. The event will offer a variety of art and food vendors, as well as a carnival, live music, and even some toad and frog racing. Yep, I said that right. The event is free to attend and has something for the entire family.
So the unique thing is we have a big carnival here. We have vendors on Saturday. There's lots of free events for kids to participate in. Just lots of fun and lots of good things to do out here for the entire family.
Commerce Days will be held at the high school football field in Commerce. The Carthage Public Library kicks off its summer reading program with a picnic. Officials say the event invites people to explore the area and interact with different departments of law enforcement in attendance. Not only was there a picnic, but there was also canine demonstrations for folks to see.
Encouraging friendship and togetherness and cooperation. And I could not think of a better way to do that than to invite our community heroes here to the library. So our community can come and look at the fire trucks.
Picnic and canine demonstration was between the library and Central Park. Well, this morning we're discussing some mischievous animals.
Apparently mischievous people too. Scavengers are scavenging through Media, Pennsylvania, once again burrowing in backyards and pulling off a familiar heist. This time their crimes aren't as cunning. Their MO, well, they chase shoes, baseball gloves, and newspapers.
If the glove fits. One resident and his wife are aiming to reunite stolen objects with their original owners. And experts say it's best to leave the cubs alone. Late spring and summer is baby season, and while mom and dad are out hunting, the cubs are having fun. So they're not so cunning. Thievery to them is just a game.
It is a fun game, and then the guy in that story made fox calls, and that was interesting to say the least.
Can you impersonate his impersonation of a fox?
I'm not even going to try. Not going to go down that road again. But it does bring us to our question. We do want to know, what is your favorite animal? So far, 34% of you say a dog and a horse. 16% of you say cat, and another 16% of you say other. And of course, it just updated, but that's why we encourage you to vote through our website, through the app, and take part in discussion on our Facebook page.
Currently, we have no chicken or lion lovers out there.
Or fox, even though the whole story was about foxes. Maybe that guy scared people about foxes. I don't know.
I don't see raccoons on there either. I know our assignment editor really loves
She
raccoons.
loves raccoons. That's right.
Twice this week, I have almost hit a raccoon in the middle of the road.
I have not. I've seen plenty of
They
them.
just
but
chill there.
They run out of the way.
chill there and wait for me to come to a stop.
Yeah.
Not afraid. All right. Let me advance this. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we meet a 6-year-old prodigy who's using her talents to raise money for nonprofits.
Plus, why the Arctic Sea may be ice-free by the summer of the 2030s. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, more than 1,000 people have been evacuated in Ukraine's Kherson region after a major dam burst. War zone has turned into a flood zone in the region after the partial collapse of the Nova Kakhovka Dam. The Ukrainian State Emergency Service shared footage of rescuers evacuating people from flooded areas affected by the breach. It's not clear what caused the already damaged dam to collapse. However, Ukraine accused Russian forces of blowing up the dam, while Russian officials blamed Ukrainian military strikes. A new study shows sea ice could temporarily disappear from the Arctic about a decade earlier than predicted. Researchers say a total melt is possible in the 2030s during the month of September, when levels tend to be the lowest. They blame human-caused pollution, but say reducing it would still result in an ice-free Arctic by the 2050s. That's a more dire prognosis than a UN forecast from 2021. Thousands gathered on the beaches in Normandy on Tuesday to commemorate the 79th anniversary of D-Day during World War II. The Allied invasion began the liberation of France and other parts of Western Europe from the Nazis. America's defense chief pointed out the parallels with today's war in Ukraine. Oren Lieberman reports.
It's been fascinating and very moving to be here over the course of the last few days and see the ceremonies and the events around D-Day. Up until now, it was almost a celebration, largely, of D-Day and what came after it, the liberation that came to France and then to the rest of Europe. In fact, we stayed in the first French town liberated after D-Day, and you see the gratitude passed down through the French generations. Today, however, is different. Today is purely a day of memorials. It is a day of commemoration, and that's to remember all of the lives lost here on the D-Day invasion, and you get a sense of that. About 160,000 paratroopers and forces landed here. Thousands of those gave their lives, and you can see the gravestones here, the French and the American flags, and in the speeches you hear them talk about the heroism, the valor, and the values that they defended in carrying out that operation. Omaha Beach here behind me, this was one of the landing spots during the invasion. All along the beachhead here, first the paratroopers, and then the amphibious assault, the largest certainly in modern European history. We have also heard in many of the speeches the connection between the values that Allied forces were defending 79 years ago and the values that the West is standing up for in Ukraine, in feeding the Ukrainian military, weaponry, equipment, and more. It was Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin who made that connection earlier today.
Every D-Day, citizen by citizen, we remember that we each have the ability and the responsibility to fight for the principles that drove the Allied armies forward.
There are about 50 or so World War II veterans in attendance here. I had a chance to speak with a few of them, and each opportunity like that is absolutely incredible because their memories of those days are absolutely sharp, and hearing what it was like, whether it was storming the beaches or the Battle of the Bulge or even fighting in the Pacific, all of those stories are incredible. Austin himself made that point. He saluted the World War II veterans. He said, "You saved the world. We merely need to defend it." Oren Lieberman, CNN, in Normandy at Omaha Beach.
That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
We've got ourselves another hot and humid day across the area, and we have another round of pop-up storms possible as we head into this afternoon. So let's take a look at that. First, these pop-up storms today look to start a little bit later than what we've seen, and today they're looking to be mainly on the Missouri side. Now, we could still see a couple in southeast Kansas, maybe northeast Oklahoma, but today they're expected to focus over here. And as we've noted over the last few days with these, well, we're not really in a broad risk for severe weather. We could see a strong or severe thunderstorm with some of this activity. Now, once it dies out, we're going to head into our Thursday. And Thursday is an interesting scenario. There's a couple of different ways of thinking on the forecast for tomorrow. One is that the thunderstorms we're expecting tomorrow arrive later in the day. If they do so, then we would warm up quickly, right around 90 degrees, but then the thunderstorms would roll in and knock us right back down. Possibility number two is that these storms start, as this computer model here is thinking, a little earlier in the morning, and if that's the case, then we won't make it out of the lower 80s. So we're just going to have to see exactly which one of these scenarios play out, but we'll go with this one for now, which hopefully will play out and keep us a little cooler. We get scattered thunderstorms as we get through the morning and into the early afternoon hours, and then we'll start to see more of those widespread across the area, and these, thankfully, are not pulse thunderstorms, so they'll bring a little bit more meaningful rainfall, and they'll last a little bit longer as well. And if this also plays out, Missouri may not make it out of the lower 80s, but everybody else may make it to 90 before the storms develop later in the afternoon. Then we go into our Friday afternoon and another round of pop-up storms possible. MoDOT camera, 32nd and range line, we're looking good. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400. It's starting to get some daylight on our camera at 7th and range line. 63 in Joplin, bit muggy, dew point 59. Humidity, it is at 87%. Temperatures around the region, 62 Fort Scott, Nevada, Parsons, 64 Chanute, 63 Miami, and 60 in Neosho. We got our morning started, got a few passing clouds. Otherwise, not bad. Partly cloudy late morning into the lower 80s. Highs today, upper 80s, lower 90s once again. So hot, muggy out there. Partly cloudy. Some pulse thunderstorms possible as well. And then we'll make it back into the upper 60s tonight under partly cloudy skies. And then we head into the rest of the week. We get into the low 80s Friday, some pop-up storms, morning thunderstorm chances into the weekend, upper and lower 80s, and then we'll hang on lower to mid 80s so as we kick off the next week. Temperatures are staying warm and more storms by Tuesday. We'll be back with more right after this.
In Reno, Nevada, a young painting prodigy is using her talents to raise money for nonprofits, but that's not the only art she's mastered. Taylor Burke has more on this 6-year-old's many talents.
If you were to just listen in, you would never know this violinist has a fraction of the experience of a musician playing in a symphony. But music isn't the only skill Juliet has under her belt.
When I go somewhere, I just take a picture with my mind and then I can remember it, and then I can come home and then I can just paint it.
At just 8 months old, Juliet began to paint. Of all her hobbies, she tells me why this one is her favorite.
No one tells me what to do and I can just paint whatever I want.
An aspiring doctor, Leong wants to help people with cancer find a donor match. Until she gets her PhD, she's selling her paintings and gives the proceeds to nonprofits.
So Juliet is very self-driven in her own goals.
Willa and Jonathan Leong are Juliet's mom and dad. They parent the same way any normal parent would.
You still have to be a parent. You still have to teach manners. You have to teach, all the things necessary to be a person in this world.
At the end of the day, they want what all parents want, for their child to have a life of happiness and satisfaction.
It's not family, it's beyond family. The family is here, that happens every day. But why are you, who are you? Can you help the community? Can you help the world? So we want her to be a child of the world.
But don't expect this 6-year-old to retire anytime soon. Juliet has big plans for her future.
I want to be a doctor, violinist, artist, pianist, and zookeeper, and there's too many things.
I love that she added in zookeeper. I wonder if she has a fox impression too. In the last year, Juliet has performed for the Oakland A's, the Texas Rangers, Reno Aces, and the Sacramento Cats. She even took the honor as the youngest violin soloist at Carnegie Hall. Amazing. We'll be right back. Well, check out the tongue on this Lab Shepherd mix from Louisiana. At 5 inches long, Zoe now holds the world's record for the longest tongue on a living dog. Her owners, Sadie and Drew Williams, say people commented on Zoe's tongue so much that they took her to the vet to have it measured. Turns out Zoe's tongue was a record breaker. Her owners also say Zoe is a friendly dog, but if you pet her, she might slobber you.
We've got ourselves a hot and muggy day again today. A few clouds this morning, then partly cloudy by late morning, going into the lower 80s. As we head into the afternoon, highs today, again, upper 80s, lower 90s, so pretty darn toasty out there. Partly cloudy skies, pop-up thunderstorms this afternoon. Today, they're looking to be mainly on the Missouri side, but we could still see a couple into southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma. And as we've seen lately, we could see a stray, strong, or severe thunderstorm out there. Once those clear out, we're partly cloudy heading into the overnight, mild, back into the upper 60s. As for tomorrow, as we've been talking about a couple of different scenarios, if these thunderstorms start later in the day, we could make it up to about 90 before the temperatures fall. We could also make it up near 90 in southeast Kansas with early morning rain in Missouri. But either way, thunderstorms tomorrow, then we'll be in the low 80s for the majority of the day. Low 80s Friday, pop-up storms, morning storms Saturday and Sunday, low to upper 80s. As we head into next week, temperatures really start to take off, low 90s across the area with some thunderstorm chances on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Right now at 6, a tragedy at the YMCA causes Pittsburgh police to investigate.
We've got another warm and muggy day across the area and some pop-up thunderstorms possible again this afternoon. We'll talk about those storm chances and how hot it's going to be coming up.
And with more candidates putting their hat into the GOP race for 2024, we take a look at the road to the 2024 election.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. Just after 6 o'clock now on this Wednesday morning, halfway through the work week. We're that much closer to Friday, which is a good thing. And we've got another hot, humid day for us and more thunderstorm chances as we head into the afternoon. So yesterday, we saw pop-up storms primarily in southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. Today, we're expecting them primarily into the Missouri side. And it'll be a little bit later. Here we are at 4. We start to see a few of the pop-up storms. Now, of course, like yesterday, it's not to say we may not see a stray storm or two in southeast Kansas or northeast Oklahoma. It's just the majority of the action will be on the Missouri side. And as we've noted the last few days, could see a stray, strong, or severe thunderstorm. Now, as we go into Thursday, some different scenarios possible. We're expecting some showers and thunderstorms. Now, if they get started early in the morning, our temperatures tomorrow will be held into the low 80s. If they start a little later in the day, could make it to 90. There's also this scenario where we get some morning thunderstorms on the Missouri side. So that keeps Missouri in the low 80s, but they don't start until later in the afternoon on the Kansas side, which will allow the Kansas side to warm up to near 90 before afternoon thunderstorms begin to develop across the area. So that's just the 2 possible scenarios that we are looking at as we head into our Thursday. But as you can see, once the storms get going in southeast Kansas, bringing some much needed, meaningful rainfall, and because these aren't pulse thunderstorms, they don't die out nearly as quickly as the storms we've seen here lately. MoDOT camera 32nd and range line looking good so far, getting some daylight out there, and same from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400. Take a quick look at the 7-day forecast. Today's highs low to upper 80s, low 90s. Again, watching the temperatures tomorrow, thunderstorms, pop-up storms Friday, then morning storms Saturday, Sunday, temperatures dropping back into the low to mid 80s for the weekend ahead. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Tragedy at the Pittsburgh YMCA. Police say a man has died after he was found unresponsive in the YMCA pool. Pittsburgh PD is not yet releasing the name of the victim. Emergency workers were called to the YMCA around 7:50 yesterday morning. YMCA personnel had already begun resuscitation efforts before first responders arrived. A crew rushed the patient to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Authorities are investigating but say there is no indication of foul play. Now, the Pittsburgh YMCA sent a statement to its members yesterday that said, in part, our entire Y family is deeply saddened by this situation. Our thoughts and prayers remain with this young man, his family and friends, as well as those who came to his aid. The statement from CEO Sarah Vaca goes on to say, quote, making sure all children and adults are safe in the pool is a top priority. We are conducting an internal review to learn the facts about what happened in this incident. We will use the findings of this review to ensure our water safety measures align with best in-class practices in order to prevent an incident like this from happening again. A Joplin chiropractor is facing federal child pornography charges. According to the Department of Justice, Eric Heedman is charged with a single count of receiving and distributing child porn. The crime allegedly happened last year. Federal grand jury indicted him May 24th. The indictment was unsealed after Heedman was arrested and appeared in court. And a Tennessee man is sentenced for the murder of a teenager in Crawford County, Kansas. Byron Baker was accused of second-degree murder and possession of stolen property. He was sentenced to almost 14 years in prison for a homicide in Pittsburgh in October of 2021. The victim, 18-year-old Chase DeLeach of Pittsburgh. Authorities say she was found dead in an apartment after the caller said they found the door open and saw her on the floor. Byron Baker will serve 36 months probation after his sentence. Joplin police arrest a man who they say stole a statue from outside the public library. Larry Hart of Joplin is now charged with felony stealing. He's accused of stealing a bronze statue of two small children reading a book. JPD says security camera video showed a man arrive outside the library, leave and return, and that's when the man cut the statue from its ground mount with a saw. The man loaded the statue onto a dolly and wheeled it away. Joplin Health Department wants to remind you they operate a mosquito fogging program in the city. Now, the city says they use a pesticide that has a low toxicity to humans, and the fog usually dissipates within 15 minutes of application. Fogging will be conducted in the early morning hours to minimize exposure, and people are encouraged to stay indoors and not drive through areas where the fog is visible after application. Residents who do not wish for their property to be fogged can contact the health department. Fogging routes will be posted on the health department page of the Joplin website. Well, two more past allies of former President Trump are jumping into the 2024 race to challenge him for the Republican nomination. Today, it's former Vice President Mike Pence's turn with a rally planned in Iowa. Yesterday, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie called out Trump by name when he announced his bid in New Hampshire. Naomi Ruckham has more from New York.
Former Vice President Mike Pence will kick off his 2024 presidential campaign today in Iowa.
The answer, Iowa, is strong, conservative, Republican leadership back in the White House.
Pence now faces his old boss and current Republican frontrunner, former President Donald Trump, and an ever-expanding GOP field.
I don't think Pence is going to have much of a chance.
I think he's got a great mind and a great heart, and I think he could do well for the country.
Thank you, everybody.
Yesterday, another past Trump ally, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, took aim at the former president while launching his own 2024 run in New Hampshire.
The reason I'm going after Trump is twofold. One, he deserves it. And two, it's the way to win.
Trump later bashed Christie on social media, calling him a failed governor and his speech boring.
Let's get things done.
Meanwhile, North Dakota GOP Governor Doug Burgum has announced that he's running for president, writing in the Wall Street Journal, quote, "We need a change in the White House." Burgum will officially launch his campaign with a speech in Fargo today. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
Now, this crowded field of Republican presidential candidates must meet the polling requirements to make it onto the first primary debate stage in Wisconsin in August. Each hopeful also needs to sign a pledge to support whoever wins the GOP nomination. So far, Trump has not said whether he would do that. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Biden administration approves $115 million to go to Jackson, Mississippi for its water infrastructure. Plus, how one UK zoo is helping those who fear spiders learn how to get over that fear. And Chris has another look at those summer-like temperatures in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, it seems as if Dolly Parton has traded in her coat of many colors for a library of many books. California is planning to expand the country music singer's Imagination Library to the entire state. The Imagination Library is a book gifting program that mails free books to kids under 5 years old. California has 2.4 million kids that age. Governor Gavin Newsom's office says the expansion is expected to reach the entire state by the year 2028. It's also slated to become the first state to provide books in Spanish. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library has gifted more than 200 million books across the nation since its launch in 1995. Federal prosecutors are using a second grand jury in the investigation into former President Donald Trump's handling of classified documents. Grand jury based in Southern California heard testimony from multiple witnesses in recent weeks. Another witness is expected to appear Wednesday at the federal courthouse in Miami, with at least one additional witness after that. It remains unclear why the special counsel is using a grand jury in Southern Florida after months of relying on grand juries in D.C. Over Virginia, authorities say 2 men are dead after gunfire erupted outside a high school graduation ceremony in Richmond Tuesday night. This incident, along with others, comes on the heels of new research which says the U.S.'s gun violence epidemic reached new highs in 2021. John Lawrence reports.
A candlelight vigil in Saratoga County, New York for Kaylin Gillis, a 20-year-old fatally shot in April after her friend turned into the wrong driveway. The 20-year-old Gillis is among the more than 18,000 people who have died from gun violence so far this year, according to the Gun Violence Archive. And so is Ajika A.J. Owens, the 35-year-old mother of 4 from Florida, who was fatally shot last week after an argument with a neighbor escalated.
My grandchildren's mother was shot and killed with her 9-year-old son standing next to her. She had no weapon. She posed no imminent threat to anyone.
Samuel Schwartz, who lost his cousin in the 2018 Parkland school shooting, is holding a multi-day sit-in at the U.S. Capitol.
After every shooting, we hear on Twitter that lawmakers and citizens call for action, but there's no action taken. So that's why I decided to lead this, and that's why all these people are here with me. We are here to make sure that something happens.
A new report from the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Solutions says gun violence in the U.S. hit a record high in 2021 with nearly 49,000 gun deaths, with increases in both gun-related homicides and suicides.
We are hoping that Leader Schumer listens to us and puts the assault weapons ban on the Senate floor for a vote immediately.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The report from Johns Hopkins also says guns are the leading cause of death for children and teenagers in the U.S. That's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Now we've got ourselves another hot and humid day with some pop-up storms again this afternoon. We'll take a look at that complete forecast and the timing of those storms when the KOAM Morning News returns. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 6:16 now on this Wednesday morning, halfway through that work week, that much closer to Friday. So we take a look at the future track. We got those pop-up storms returning for us by this afternoon. These are expected a little later in the day, and this time they're looking to be mainly on the Missouri side. And again, that's not to say we couldn't see a stray one over in southeast Kansas or northeast Oklahoma, but today's pop-up storms mainly on the Missouri side. And as we've noted over the last several days of these, we could see a stray, strong, or severe thunderstorm. And once we get into the evening, of course, these will begin to die out across the area. And then we go into our Thursday, and we're looking at a couple of different things that could play out. There may be actually about 3 different things that could play out. If thunderstorms across the region start a little earlier, our highs tomorrow won't make it out of the lower 80s. If they start a little later, we'll make it to right around 90 before the storms come in and kick our temperatures down. Third scenario is what's playing out here, where we see some morning thunderstorms mainly on the Missouri side. So that keeps our Missouri counties in the low 80s for highs. But as you see, we stay clear out to the west until the late afternoon hours, and that allows the Kansas side to warm up to near 90. So that's what we've got to work with, and that looks like the most likely scenario. So I think the majority of us, especially out to the west, are going to make it to about 90, while our Missouri counties are going to stay in the low 80s for highs because we'll get those morning thunderstorms. But by the afternoon, thunderstorms really get going across parts of southeast Kansas, bringing some real meaningful rainfall across the area. And because they're not pulse thunderstorms, they'll last a little bit longer, and as the daytime heating goes away, they will eventually die out, but they'll bring a little bit more of that much needed rainfall out there as we head into tomorrow afternoon and evening. MoDOT camera, 32nd and range line, looking good so far. You can see the sun rising there. And from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400, we've got those clear skies looking pretty good. Still some patchy fog across the area, but nothing too bad out there so far. We've got mostly clear skies across the area, 62 in Joplin, so a little cooler than yesterday, but still a bit muggy, 58 dew point, and humidity at 86%. Temperatures around the region, 62 Nevada, Fort Scott, 60 in Iola, 63 Neota, Shave, Miami, 64 Chatopa. We're sitting at 60 Neosho and 59 in Monette. We get our morning started. Again, we'll have a few passing clouds, otherwise not too bad. Partly cloudy by late morning and warm yet again, back into the lower 80s. Highs today right around 90 degrees, maybe a little warmer than that in some locations. Partly cloudy skies through the afternoon. Then we'll see those pop-up storms, again, mainly on the Missouri side of things. Those die out. They leave us with partly cloudy skies as we head into the evening and overnight hours, and we'll make it back to a very mild upper 60s for overnight lows. All right, thunderstorms tomorrow. Again, I think in Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, you're probably going to make it to near 90. The Missouri side, probably going to make it low 80s. Pop-up storms Friday, low 80s, upper 80s Saturday, morning storms Sunday, low 80s. Then next week, low 80s Monday. Then we start to warm up, mid-80s, lower 90s with thunderstorms Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, millions of people have a debilitating fear of spiders. Arachnophobia is one of the most common phobias in the U.S. and around the world. Across the pond, the London Zoo is on a mission to help people overcome their anxiety. Ian Lee reports.
Spiders are creepy and crawly, and to some people, downright terrifying.
I can't walk up the stairs without having all the lights on because I once had a spider in the corner of the stairs.
And I had a full-on panic attack to the point where I got so stressed, my nose started bleeding.
Ilana Brewster is at the London Zoo's Friendly Spider program to detangle her web of worry.
I rate my fear a 10 out of 10.
Amazingly, I used to be scared of spiders. They're around anyway.
Zookeeper Dave Clark has helped more than 5,000 people shed their dread over the past 30 years.
We know we've had 98% success, which is amazing.
The one-day course mixes psychotherapy with hypnosis.
They live a life of fear. You don't need that fear.
But first, they have to face it.
You're doing really well. You're doing really well.
Experts believe arachnophobia could come from either childhood trauma involving spiders or a fear passed on by a parent.
My cousin used to chase me around with spiders, put one on my face, woke up, been scared ever since.
But when class is finally over, many turned from bug squashers to spider lovers.
Who knows? Yeah, might have them as pets.
Ilana wouldn't go that far.
I'd probably rate my fear about a 3 out of 10.
But says at least she spun a more confident connection with the 8-legged critters. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Conquering your fear, though, is not free. The Friendly Spider course costs just under $200, but the zoo says the money goes towards protecting threatened spiders in the wild. mRNA COVID vaccines do not cause any serious side effects in young children. That's according to an analysis published in Pediatrics. Researchers looked at more than 245,000 doses of the vaccine given to children who were mostly 4 and younger and found no uptick in any of the 23 serious potential side effects studied. That includes the heart inflammation called myocarditis, a rare side effect found primarily among teenaged or young adult men. When it comes to schooling for young children, new research suggests they may learn better when taught while also being physically active. A doctoral thesis out of the University of Helsinki found preschoolers tend to better absorb lessons on language and numbers while they were also practicing motor skills. Kids like to move. And singing may be a key to helping people with Parkinson's disease improve problems with their voice. New research published in the International Journal of Language and Communication Disorders on Parkinson's patients who combine traditional speech therapy with singing have greater voice intensity than those who receive just one of those therapies. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Yeah, we're going to take a few seconds and just kind of put out a traffic alert for you. Right at the end of our last weathercast, some kind of power flicker down on the south side of Joplin has caused the traffic signals at 32nd and Range Line to enter flash mode. Now, MoDOT people are aware, and we know this because they keep adjusting the camera and watching the intersection. We did see one guy just go right through, didn't even stop. So this is a four-way stop right now. So if you're commuting this morning around 32nd and Range Line, I know this is a busy intersection. It's a big one. You need to be prepared to stop and make sure you take turns. We'll have more on your forecast, and hopefully they'll get this fixed soon when we come back.
Right now at 6:30, the city of Joplin is only able to open one pool this summer season.
We've got ourselves another hot and muggy day across the area with some pop-up storms possible again later today. We'll talk about those storm chances coming up.
And the old Union Depot in Joplin opened its doors for a cleanup by the community.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:28. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So we got another hot and muggy day across the area. More pop-up storms by this afternoon. Yesterday they were on the Kansas side. Today they're expected on the Missouri side. But as we wrapped up the last segment, we actually now have a traffic alert for commuters in Joplin this morning. Some kind of power surge or something like that took place on the south side of the city, and the traffic signals here at 32nd and Range Line are flashing, which is making that a four-way stop. Earlier we saw one van that was westbound didn't even stop. So make sure that you are prepared for this, because I know this is a busy intersection. We're coming up on the morning rush hour, and it's going to get very busy. This is a four-way stop. MoDOT is aware of the issue because we've been watching them adjust the camera, so they have notified their personnel. Hopefully they'll get somebody out there and get those reset, but do be careful about that this morning because that can be a fairly dangerous spot to be. In terms of our thunderstorm chances later today, we're looking about 3, 4 o'clock. Start to see a few pop-up storms out there. Now, again, these are mainly on the Missouri side, but that's not to say we won't see a stray one out to the west. And as we've seen the last few days, we could see a stray strong or severe thunderstorm out there as well. Once these clear out, we go into our Thursday. Here's what the thinking is. We're going to have morning storms on the Missouri side, and that'll keep the Missouri side in the low 80s for highs. But you look out west and you can see we've got clear skies, and until the afternoon storms get going, we're looking at highs in Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, points west of 69, reaching right around 90 before we start to see more thunderstorm development into the afternoon. And because these aren't pulse thunderstorms, you can see we're going to get some actual meaningful rainfall out of this activity. Now, it'll still die out once we lose the heating of the day, but at least some real rain is on the way. We're expecting highs today near 90, lower 90s out there. Those pop-up storms, thunderstorms tomorrow. Some of us near 90, others low 80s. Pop-up storms Friday, low 80s, and we've got 87 Saturday, morning storms Sunday, 83, low 80s Monday. Storm chances return by Tuesday, and temperatures warm back to the mid-80s. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Only one public pool will be open in Joplin this summer, despite the city owning 3, and that one is Schifferdecker. But the pool is only partially open due to a lifeguard shortage. 60 lifeguards are needed to fully open Schifferdecker Pool. Joplin currently has 29 and 34 more in training. And while the community waits for qualified lifeguards, the Joplin City wants to remind the community that the city can only work with what they have, and that not every community is the same.
People will compare other communities' pools, and you can't compare apples to apples. One pool, in particular, it only takes them 30 people to staff their pool.
City of Joplin is currently working on opening a splash pad in Ewart Park. Schifferdecker Pool will be closed this Saturday for a swim meet. Joplin Union Depot's doors were open to some residents to clean up the interior of the historic building. KOAM's Yana Dula talked with Downtown Joplin Alliance officials and volunteers who are clearing the space.
Some area residents got the chance to step inside the historic Joplin Railroad Station as they volunteer with the Downtown Joplin Alliance Clean Team for a cleanup. The Union Depot has been around for more than 100 years, and with that comes a lot of history.
You can't go just to any building and walk in and be standing in the same place as someone was standing 100 years ago. As so many of these people in Joplin were leaving to go to Kansas City or wherever they left, to go to war, it was out of this train station. And, You don't get that with the new building that was built, and this is just, it's too amazing of a structure to let it go.
Volunteer Sean Hull says this is an opportunity to finally see inside the depot while taking care of it.
I've known about it. It's never been in operation during my lifetime, certainly not while I've lived here in Joplin. So, you know, we're hoping that this is a first step in bringing the depot back in some shape or fashion.
He says cleaning up has not been as difficult as he thought.
What you find in there is trash, food wrappers, Coke bottles, other types of bottles, cans, that sort of thing. You can tell people have camped out here and used the building to live in.
Gibson says it is good to have the railroad station cleaned up before the State Historic Preservation Conference is coming in town.
They're going to be making a stop here at the depot as one of the presentations to show off Joplin and its historic preservation efforts.
In Joplin, Janna Hautala, KOAM News.
Clean Team meets 2 times a month on the first Tuesday and the third Saturday to clean up areas that they think need cleaning. Now, Gibson recommends residents come out and help clean up spaces in a community with a 1-hour commitment. Yesterday was National Drive-In Movie Day, and for a drive-in theater in Lamar, Missouri, it could have been a pretty busy one. The theater is celebrating its 74th season and hopes to keep the tradition of going to the drive-in alive.
It's a place where everybody comes, you know, the community just, you know, it's people come out here, you see them, or they have, you know, they sit in their lawn chairs and they bring radios, and I've seen playpens with babies out in front, and tents, people bring tents, couches, lazy boy chairs, you know, it's just like coming home to watch a movie on a huge screen.
74th season of the Barco Theater is dedicated to the memory of Scott's son, Zachary Kelly. The 12th annual Commerce Days kicks off tonight at 5 p.m. and will run through Saturday. The event offers a variety of art and food vendors, as well as a carnival, live music, and even some toad and frog racing. The event is free to attend and has something for the entire family.
It's all about getting people out, getting people together, interacting with your friends, interacting with your neighbors, interacting with people that you might not normally interact with. I mean, this is a nice, safe place to do it with. Plus, like I said, there's a whole carnival going on.
You can find Commerce Days event activities at the high school football field in Commerce. Ozark Center Hope Spring in Joplin is focusing attention on eating disorders with an upcoming art show. It's called Reflections of Hunger. It showcases lived experiences of local individuals struggling with eating disorders and body image issues. Dr. Jenny Copeland with Ozark Center gives us a preview of what viewers can expect.
And understand from their perspective their individual stories. Each of their stories, each of their illnesses, and their recovery has been very different. And I think it's important for us to hear it in their own words instead of mine.
The art show opens at 5:30 on June 29th and will run through July 31st. It's free for everyone. Well, it was a fruitful day for supporters of Alex's Lemonade stand in Pittsburgh. Family response advocates and City Hall staff served cold, fresh lemonade under the Pritchett Pavilion for a good cause. It's to help the foundation find the cure for children with cancer by raising $400, which is enough to support 1 day of research. More than 12 gallons of lemonade were served. Donators could also add their name to the gratitude wall and purchase raffle tickets for 2 chances to win a prize.
Hopefully there will be better solutions to the cancer that children have. Some of the treatments that they have for cancer right now in children are worse than the disease sometimes. So this will help.
If you didn't have the chance to grab yourself a lemonade at Alex's Lemonade stand, you can still make donations. You can find more information at KOAMnewsnow.com. Just click on this article. Well, the Carthage Public Library kicked off its summer reading program with a picnic yesterday. Officials say the event invites people to explore the area and interact with different departments of law enforcement in attendance. Not only was there a picnic, but there were also canine demonstrations for folks to see.
You know, encouraging friendship and togetherness and cooperation. And I could not think of a better way to do that than to invite our community heroes here to the library. So our community can come and look at the fire trucks.
Picnic and canine demonstration was between the library and Central Park. Well, this morning we're discussing some mischievous animals.
Foxes, to be precise. These scavengers are scavenging through Media, Pennsylvania once again, burrowing in backyards and pulling off a familiar heist. This time, their crimes aren't as cunning. Their MO? Well, they're going after shoes, baseball gloves, and newspapers.
Why not? Got to stay informed. One resident and his wife, they're aiming to reunite the stolen objects with their original owners. And experts say it's best to leave the cubs alone. Late spring and summer is baby season, and while mom and dad are out hunting, the cubs, well, they're just having fun. So they're not so cunning thievery to them is just a game.
That brings us to our question for you this morning. What is your favorite animal? You've got a number of potential choices out there, and we've been calling for you to vote. So far, 55% of you say a dog, 20% of you say cats, 5% of you say foxes, getting some foxes some love out there, another 5% for lions, 5% for other, and 10% of you say you like horses.
Okay, so we need some love for pandas, and we need some love for chickens right now. And you know what? Since it's not on there, the raccoon, you could call it a trash panda.
You can call them trash pandas.
And then put it in that category.
Absolutely.
There you go, Trevor. I know that's your favorite.
Make sure you vote through our website, through the app, take part in discussion on our Facebook page.
All right, thanks, Chris. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. How Apple plans to use AI to help with its auto-correcting feature.
Plus, we've got ourselves another hot and muggy day out there, plus some pop-up thunderstorms this afternoon. We'll take a look at that full forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
This morning, President Biden convened his cabinet for the first time since January, and economic issues were at the top of the agenda. The White House highlighted the deal to avoid default, infrastructure investment, and job creation. But where does the economy really stand? Karen Kafa has a look from Washington.
Well, good afternoon.
President Joe Biden sitting down with his cabinet Tuesday for the first time since January.
Today, I'm here with my cabinet, continuing to focus on getting the job done for the American people.
With an eye toward Biden's 2024 re-election bid, where the economy will be among the top domestic issues, the White House used the meeting to highlight implementation of the president's infrastructure plan signed into law last summer, an unemployment rate under 4%, and the bipartisan debt ceiling deal Biden signed over the weekend to ensure the U.S. would avoid default.
He believes that we can continue to get things done, and there's a long list of legislative agenda that he wants to see.
With the debt ceiling crisis resolved, more economists are leaning away from the idea that the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes to curb inflation could slow the economy to a halt. Goldman Sachs chief economist told CNBC Tuesday the labor market is cooling in a way where layoffs have been confined to certain sectors.
If you look at the overall layoff numbers, they're still pretty similar to where they were in sort of 2018, 2019, when we had a pretty strong labor market.
And consumers keep spending, though major retailers like Macy's and Costco have reported a shift toward less expensive food, essentials, and services as 2 years of high inflation takes a toll. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Drug maker Merck is suing the federal government over its plan to allow Medicare to negotiate prices for a handful of drugs. In the lawsuit, Merck called the plan, which is part of the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act, extortion and a sham. Some patient advocacy groups have slammed the lawsuit, and the Secretary of Health and Human Services responded saying, quote, "The law is on our side." Federal regulators say once popular baby pillow that was taken off the market 2 years ago is now linked to at least 10 infant deaths in the U.S. Boppy's newborn lounger was originally recalled in 2021 after 8 deaths were reported with its use due to a risk of suffocation. The company and the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission are urging caregivers to stop using the pillow, and they're asking online marketplaces to crack down on attempts to resell secondhand pillows on their websites. Apple is using AI to solve its autocorrect problem. The new software is said to learn your habits, fixing words that you frequently misspell, but leaving words alone that you intentionally typed, even the salty ones. The upgraded iOS 17 is scheduled for this fall. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, some good news. The traffic signals, MoDOT responded very quickly, and they are back to normal operation at 32nd and Range Line. So that's great news because it's a fairly busy area for the commute. We've got another hot and muggy day for us today, and we've got pop-up thunderstorms expected later, mainly on the Missouri side of things. And we'll take a look at that full forecast in just a moment. But we're now Wednesday. As we mentioned, we are getting that much closer to Friday, so we're going to celebrate some birthdays and anniversaries. But first, we're going to head over to New York and see what's coming up on CBS Mornings.
Hello to you, I'm Gail King. Coming right up on CBS Mornings, Nate talks with the director of the highly anticipated Transformers Rise of the Beast movie. They discuss what it was like taking over that blockbuster franchise. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
All right, time for some Wednesday birthdays here in the 4 states, and we are going to begin in Oswego with Randa Jo Smith celebrating birthday number 7. Happy birthday.
All right, up next, we've got Samantha Guy celebrating birthday number 25 in Walnut, pictured there with her brother Ben. With love from Mom and Dad.
And we've got Eric Engelman celebrating birthday number 40 in Weir, with happy birthday wishes coming from Eli, Sylvie, and your wife, Taylor.
All right, and our very own Miss Nancy Evans. Oh, longtime KOAM employee and friend. We love when you come and fill in on the front desk, Nancy. From Columbus, happy birthday.
And we've got Roberta Koger celebrating number 89 in Parsons, coming with love coming from your 7 kids, 17 grandkids, and 23 great grandkids. Happy birthday, Roberta.
All right, and Josh and Jamie Horton are celebrating their 21st anniversary with love from Mom and Dad Burns, and they are in Carthage, Missouri.
And Jerry and Kathy Alsdorf celebrating their 32nd wedding anniversary over in Carthage as well. Very happy anniversary to Jerry and Kathy.
All right, and celebrating their 64th anniversary, Ben and Shirley Beneke in Parsons. Congratulations.
And we've got Jim and Wilma Lawson celebrating their 65th wedding anniversary in Joplin. Great throwback picture there, and a very happy anniversary to the Lawsons.
All right. And our list goes on. We've got Allison Medlin in Columbus. Happy birthday.
And Eileen Bagondo in Weir celebrating a birthday today as well.
All right. Ed Murphy turns 69 years old in Iola, Kansas.
And Cheryl Glass celebrating a birthday over in Joplin.
All right. And Colton Joseph Bunce turning 18 years old with love from Nana and Papa Bunce.
And Rachel Walker celebrating birthday number 44 in Joplin. A very happy birthday and anniversary to all of you. And of course, we love celebrating with you. Tanya, how do they do that?
All they have to do is send us an email, and it's an easy email to remember, but don't forget the S on it. birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com.
And of course, while you're on our website checking out all the cool features it has, make sure you check out the coolest one of all. It's the KOAM Birthday Club. You get special deals from local businesses. You also get yourself a special message from your friends here at KOAM. So head over to KOAMnewsnow.com. Sign up for that birthday club today. All right, more hot, muggy pop-up storms in the forecast again today. Yesterday, we saw most of them in southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. Today, we're expecting them mainly on the Missouri side. But again, that's not to say we couldn't get a stray shower or storm out to the west. But most of this activity, while very isolated, will be on the Missouri side. And as we've seen with these pop-up storms, a stray strong or severe thunderstorm is possible. Now, as we go into Thursday, this is what's looking to be the most likely scenario. We're going to head into Thursday morning. We're going to get showers, thunderstorms scattered roughly along and to the east of Highway 69. That's going to keep temperatures in that area, especially mainly in Missouri, not getting out of the low 80s for highs. However, look out to the west in Kansas. Plentiful sunshine, no thunderstorms initially, and that will allow your afternoon highs to go into the upper 80s near 90 before eventually you get in on this thunderstorm activity too later in the afternoon, bringing some much more meaningful rainfall. And that's the great thing. These aren't pop-up storms. These are actual showers and thunderstorms, which is great news because we absolutely need that rain out there. MoDOT camera, 32nd and Range Line. Traffic lights fixed. Sun is rising, looking great so far. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and 400 just south of Pittsburgh. Clear skies in Joplin from our camera at 7th and Rangeline. 62, bit muggy, 58 dew point, 86% humidity. Temperatures around the region: 60 Nevada, 59 Iola, 62s Neodesha, Chanute, Parsons, 63 Miami, and 60 in Neosho. And as we get our morning started, we'll have a few passing clouds here and there. Go partly cloudy by late morning, warm, muggy, low 80s. Well, coming up when we switch on over to Fox 14, like many people before her, including journalists, Taylor Swift is caught on camera pausing all because she swallowed a bug. We'll have this story that only Jeannie Moose can bring us, but that's only if you switch on over with us to KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 at 7 a.m.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Only one public pool will be open in Joplin despite the city owning 3, and that one is Schifferdecker Pool this summer. But the pool is only partially open due to a lifeguard shortage. 60 guards are needed to fully open Schifferdecker. Joplin currently has 29 and 34 more in training. While the community waits for qualified lifeguards, the city wants to remind the community that it can only work with what they have, and not every community is the same. The Joplin Union Depot's doors are open to some residents to clean up the interior of the historic building. Joplin Downtown Alliance Clean Team wants to pay attention on cleaning up the Union Depot Railroad Station. The team invited local residents yesterday to help with a quick cleanup before the State Historic Preservation Conference comes into town today. Workers say it's great to finally see inside the depot while being able to take care of it. And yesterday was National Drive-In Movie Day, and for a drive-in theater in Lamar, Missouri, could be a pretty busy one. The theater is celebrating its 74th season and hopes to keep the tradition of going to the drive-in alive. It was a fruitful day for supporters of Alex's Lemonade stand in Pittsburgh. Family response advocates and City Hall staff served cold, fresh lemonade under the Pritchett Pavilion for a good cause. It's to help the foundation find the cure for children with cancer by raising $400, which is enough to support one day of research. More than 12 gallons of lemonade were served, and donators could also add their name to the gratitude wall and purchase raffle tickets for 2 chances to win a prize. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Well, we've got ourselves a hot and muggy day. Temperatures right around 90, upper 80s, low 90s, partly cloudy. Pop-up thunderstorms mainly on the Missouri side as we head into the afternoon and evening hours. Could be a stray, strong or severe storm. Those will clear out. We're partly cloudy, mild overnight, lows in the upper 60s rather. Thunderstorms tomorrow if you're west of 69, highs near 90. If you're east of 69, looking at highs only in the low 80s. Pop-up storms Friday, morning storms Saturday, Sunday, more storms by Tuesday, temps in the 80s.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making lemon caper fish fillets in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. A Saudi aid worker who used an anonymous Twitter account to mock government officials was arrested in Riyadh in 2018 and allegedly tortured. Only on CBS Mornings, his sister is speaking out and says Twitter bears some responsibility for what happened to her brother.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, it's another Wildcat Wednesday, and we welcome 2 4-H students into the studio this morning as we learn about pollinators and projects involving pollinators by the 4-H.
And our good friend Emily Frankowski stopping by to tell us all about what's happening at Connect to Culture, including a tribute Beatles band. Ooh. That sounds like a great time. That's going to wrap it up for us for now. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.